something by throwing it away, and that was probably the biggest, so what? There's that connection.
There is, and there's a lot of pieces to that connection,
Yeah.
consequences in there. Somebody else, so what?
We talked about that. We have a system that it never goes away. So eventually, are we all going to be living on a compacted mountain of trash?
Yes.
Because if it never goes away and we run out of places to put it,
So there are some, eventually, with the momentum that we have now, yes. Land in the middle of the country is abundant and cheap. It's not on the coast, it's not in Europe, it's not in some places, and that affects certain things like tipping fees at landfills. I want you guys to pick it apart a little bit more though, because anybody ever seen a landfill? Who's seen a landfill? They're huge, right? Like hundreds of acres, right? What was there before they dug that hole?
Farms.
Farms. What was there before the farms were there?
Probably prairie.
Forest. What lived in the forest? Lots of stuff. So I have to take kids back this road all the time because we just don't think about it.
I'll forget if I don't ask you now. I-49, Johnson, the Hill, did that used to be a landfill?
Yes, that's what I've heard
That
too.
was
So we're in a closed system.
and it was a landfill when I moved here in '79, because there was no 49.
Ah, yeah.
Yes.
We're in a closed system that looks open because of the way we treat it and because things go out there. To simplify in a way what you're saying. Out there has consequences. Habitat, that's one of the big ones. I read something the other day that 80% of all deforestation on the planet is from agricultural land. So people growing food, right? Anybody know how much food we waste in the United States as a percentage of what we
On the order
grow?
of 40%,
Yep, somebody said it, 40%.
something around there.
That's all resources that went into land that used to be habitat that we could have left there, right, had we not wasted the food. So that's the sort of things I'm thinking about. Carbon dioxide and methane, those are two other things. Remember that, and I want you guys to think big picture in systems. Every time somebody makes something, they burn what?
Fuel.
Fossil fuel. They burn coal or natural gas or oil or some variation of that, right? What happens when you burn that stuff? CO2 goes and it sits right at the top of our little dome, about 60 miles up or something, I believe, and it holds in heat.
And having cut down our forests, it exacerbates the problem because we don't have as many trees to use.
Exactly. To pull the carbon out into their wood, like that, through the leaves. Yeah, so there's a lot of aspects of that. What about human health? Nobody said that. And a lot of people are like, okay, trees and and this and that, but what about us?
I think the answer to the question is, it directly affects the quality of life of all living things.
Yes.
Yes, that's the best answer I've probably ever heard for that. that's really good. Yeah. Okay. What do you guys think the most prevalent thing in our waste stream is? Plastic, metal, electronics, or food? If we looked in Northwest Arkansas or in Fayetteville specifically, raise your hand if you think it's metal.
By weight?
By weight.
Oh, by weight?
By weight.
That would be food.
All right, raise your hand if you think it's food. Ding, ding, ding. Yep, it's food.
Hey, Justin,
Yes.
since Brian when did you get in the business?
1995.
Okay, I got in 89, and in 89, paper was 40%. It's kind of interesting to look at the old EPA charts from the 80s to see how paper shrunk and plastic grew over the past couple of decades.
Because things are digital.
This data right here was actually taken from a waste audit that we did at our transfer station, which is part of our diversion plan that we're working on right now. So this is actual Fayetteville data that's been accumulated here.
Brian, now is this is just trash?
And
Or
it's
does this include what's already being burned?
It's just the trash from the residential, that's
Yeah.
important to know. It's just
So like,
trash.
I wonder if you look at everything that is diverted plus the trash, you know, is paper and fiber still a big thing?
Oh, well, it definitely makes up a huge percentage.
Because that's, you know, it's
Which one is
recyclable, but it's still,
plastic?
I mean, it's still waste, but at least it's getting recycled. I just wondered,
Yeah, that's a good point.
yeah, so this is only what's not being recycled.
That's what's going into the trash that they've looked at. So what do you guys notice? I'm sorry about the color scheme, it's not real
Yeah,
distinct,
not,
but
it's not easy to see.
what do you notice here?
Paper,
Look at this.
plastic, and food,
Look
yeah.
at this.
Yeah.
Boom. Food and recyclable paper. Somebody do the math for me there. 18 plus 18. 36%, close to half of our entire waste stream is materials that can be recycled or composted, right? So to me, that sounds like an opportunity. You know, people will immediately think like it's plastic. That's the most common thing in there, but it's not plastic. The number for residential for plastic is a little bit higher, I believe, than if you added in construction, demolition, and commercial in these things because of the consumption of packaging and bottles and all these sorts of things. It goes down a little more when you look at the whole aggregate. Because this is just houses, this is just residential. So, yeah, electronics are actually pretty small right there, 1.5%. But
That'll be zero.
I'll be zero. And you could bring the house. We have a facility, to Sherry, we have a facility for that.
But it still doesn't go away.
By the way, Sherry works with Free Geek here, and we've worked with her a lot, and that's a really good example of a local reuse option. And I can tell you the stories that people talk about, you know, improper disposal of electronics. It's a real issue, you know, and a lot of it's because there's not a good information out there. There are options to do something like that. And it's a human health issue too, because these electronics, old CRT monitors have about 4 to 8 pounds of lead. That's a lot of lead when you start adding it up.
They have other nasty stuff.
Yeah, cadmium, mercury, palladium, that's in some of the cell phones and stuff. But a lot of heavy metals in there. Okay. Here we go, solid waste hierarchy. So, which is the most important of the 3 R's?
Reduce.
Reduce, right? So you guys can see it's right up here. I kind of like this one because it makes it relevant. The higher up you go, the more preferred that option is. You reduce, you don't buy the stuff or make the trash in the first place, and resource conservation goes up. As you go down the
That's a
hierarchy,
good thing to say, yeah.
it's less preferable. Now, here's the catch. You can't always follow one of these higher options, right? And so that's why it's a hierarchy. It's when you have the choice, choose a higher option if you can. And, you know, I think it's also, the more I get into it, it's also up to industry and other entities to create a system where we can choose those higher options as well, right? And we'll get into that a little bit more. Does that make sense
It
to
does.
everybody? Is that,
One of the most absurd things that I've seen recently is they're now peeling bananas, putting them on a styrofoam plate, and wrapping them in plastic.
well,
Really?
yeah.
It's super hard to think.
Oranges too.
Yeah, there was a very concerted effort, not particularly for that, but back in the 1950s by a man named Elmo Calkins, I think, to create something called planned obsolescence and disposability. It was a very concerted effort to market to consumers in a way that, yeah, it's convenient. Of course it's convenient. Just grab it and go. A lot of people think it's more sanitary, these sorts of things. But it was a very concerted effort to be able to sell these things. And people need to know about things. They need to be aware that, you know.
But you're still unwrapping that banana.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so getting a little bit more local, waste management in Fayetteville. So you guys are all familiar with the, or most of you may be familiar with the CART system here. And it's a pay-as-you-throw system. So what does that mean? Does anybody know what that means, pay-as-you-throw?
Like a utility.
Yeah. It's a very market-based mechanism where if you produce more trash, you're going to need to buy this. What's the gallon size of this one, Brian?
The largest one's 96.
96. You're going to have to pay more money for that because that's generally what you do in a market system. You use more electricity, you pay more money for it. You use more water, you pay more money for it.
How long have you had this system?
That's 2003.
2003.
Rogers doesn't have that. I have one gigantic trash can and one gigantic recycle bin, and I live to fill up the trash can.
Yeah, and it's a mixed basket when you go around the country, but it works because it's based on the volume of trash that you create. So you say, hey, I make this much trash a week. You can go and get one of these smaller carts and save a lot of money. And Brian, correct me if I've got these, I think these numbers are up to date here, but yearly savings, if you go from large to small, you save about $131 on the year. That's a fair amount of money over a year for something like trash that we don't necessarily pay a whole lot for anyway.
Can I ask something? How many people are from Fayetteville versus everywhere else?
Oh, no.
Fayetteville?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Fayetteville, who was in Fayetteville?
The 90-some gallons, and turns out you don't. Does Fayetteville buy back that container?
So the trash containers are property of the city of Fayetteville. And so when you move into your residence in Fayetteville, you have the option to get whatever one of those three sizes.
Right.
So we'll start you off, say you want the larger one. And then 6 months down the road, you find that you're not even filling that thing up halfway, you want to save some money. You call us, we'll come out and change it to the 64-gallon size, which is that next size down, or the 32-gallon, which is the smallest one.
Right.
There's no fee to do that. If you move
take the old
in,
one back, right?
yeah. If you move in and you say, I want to save money all the time, I want to get that small one. And then 6 months down the road, you find that you're getting more trash than you can fit into that. Then when we come out to exchange it, there's a $20 exchange fee. We want to encourage people to go down. We don't want to encourage people to go up. The key to this is making sure you have the right size unit, or what you think might be the right size. Because what, maybe you're going to say this in a second, one of the kicker to this program, and what makes it work, is if there's an extra bag of trash next to your card on collection day, that's $6.20 added to your bill.
For every
So you need to get that right size card. So imply, I'm sure you're going to go into this.
Or the
It's
lid is,
expensive to recycle.
The fellow that picks it up, he has to record that.
He does, yeah. And so if he comes and and it's the rim, there's a bag of trash sticking out above the rim, that he has a log in his truck that he writes down. And that gets turned into our office each day, and that gets put onto the bills.
And then they call their city councilman. It's like, to the ground, that's the yearly Christmas gift.
Is there any way to, like I know that the smallest one is, like, that's what we have, but I don't even use that. I probably do it every 2 weeks, if that. Is there any way, since they're already reporting that, to possibly have a system where if you're only using it 2 times a month, that you could get a discount, or?
Yeah, we don't have anything like that. It'd be very cumbersome to do. You're probably,
Yeah, I'm a very small minority.
I remember back when this program was being instituted in 2003, that we'd actually looked at I think it was a 20-gallon size part. You run into a little bit of operational concerns when you get something that small because this is an automated collection where the truck comes with a claw, picks that up and dumps it. If you get that too small, that mechanism doesn't quite work right. In fact, with small carts, they'll get pinched a certain way in that claw, and when they go to dump it, not all the stuff comes out. And we get that all the time. People will call us and say, everybody on my neighborhood got picked up stuff for me. Well, we picked them up. It's just that squeezed it so much that not all of their trash came out. And so that happens. So operationally, it's a little bit of a concern. Those big 96 and the 64, they're the same diameter. They work really well when you're collecting.
Yeah, and so I kind of like this because you got money in a trash bag and a recycling symbol. And that's kind of three of the things that the system, this pay as you throw, is about. If you're making less trash than your neighbor, you don't want to subsidize their trash production necessarily. You know, if they're filling up a big container and you're making less, it makes sense to me in a market kind of system that you would pay less money for that. So that's one of the things that it's very reflective of what you're actually putting in there, and that's important. There are, and Brian, there's only some communities that do per bag of waste, right? That's not too common.
Right. So across the country, what we're seeing in waste collection is more a move towards automation. And so very few programs have the bags. Fayetteville actually started out as a bag program back in 99 or 2000. If you'll remember, they were supposed to be purple bags to match the purple dogs. They ended up being pink. And we had pink bags showing up for the next decade across every small town in Northwest Arkansas. It was very cumbersome, as you can imagine, to keep up with bags, make sure everybody had bags. If they needed more, they always had to come down to our office to get them. It just wasn't very good a system. So when we went to automated collection for waste, it really made a world of difference. And it's a much better system now. It's in containers that dogs, cats, birds can't get into as readily. So it's a lot better collection mechanism.
Didn't you, when you implemented the pink bags, because I have those, and I'm thinking that you had to estimate how many you needed for the year. It was a problem too.
It was, yeah. So I think it was 2 bags a week per household.
Yeah.
That's what, it's 104 bags or something like that you got sent to you. And then if you want more, you have to come get them. So yeah, it wasn't a very good system.
And the last thing on there, incentivizing what's right. So you're going to pay more for that larger trash can. So in people's minds, that is a way of encouraging recycling some of the things that you have. I've seen this in a few studies where I think in like Vancouver or some places on the West Coast, their trash container is like this. That's just the standard. It's small, and they have this big recycling container. And what happens is, all of a sudden, people's consumption preferences shift. Nobody goes out there and says, hey, you've got to recycle twice as much as you throw away. It just happens because they adjust based on what the cost is of those things. So some places, and they're working, to get that right amount of difference between the large container and the small containers. There's some sweet spots in there where people, you get the incentive right for people, and that's what we want. So that's a pay-as-you-throw system, and I mean, it works pretty well for these reasons. Some of the things that they run into with pay-as-you-throw, dumping on your neighbors. Somebody comes and sneaks their trash over here to that one because, I'm going to make extra trash and put it over here. That's one of the things that has occurred. As Brian said, the smaller carts, when they're too tight like that, they have trouble dumping them because it's compacted in there. So, there's always logistical challenges to any program. People leaving carts out all the time or exchanging carts, like, I pay for a small one, I guess. He's got a big one. I'm going to go over there at 10 o'clock at night and take his big one and just put it over here real quick. So we'll fix that monetary problem there. That's funny to me. I can't imagine, like,
Really?
there'd be some shaming involved. That, like, if my neighbor
Really?
came over and took my car, I'd be a little suspicious. But it happens. And that's also an issue with these multi-family, I guess, duplexes and units like that, people switching carts and that sort of thing. So they have to have one set size for the whole multi-family unit to prevent that issue.
So typically, multifamily, we try to go with dumpsters. Not always easy to do. Sometimes we have to go with cars because of the space issues. We ran into this one quite a bit, where when you let the homeowner choose, which you normally try to do, if they end up getting one size container like a large or a small, their neighbor would try to steal it, and depending on what they need. And so somebody could end up being charged for a large one and only have a small one because somebody was. So you wouldn't think you would hope your neighbors would be trustworthy enough to trust them, but issues like this is what we run into. So when we have multifamily units, we typically try to keep them at a standard size. That way everybody's got the same. They don't get the flexibility of choosing their size cards, but that way we don't have any issues with people stealing cards and trying to cheat the system.
So one of the ways that any kind of illegal dumping, and we actually have a couple guys that work with illegal dumping in the county. Y'all may know my car, he's an officer that works, he's got a tough job. Goes out and looks illegal dumps and those sorts of things. And then we have another guy too that does that in the county. But one way, there are ways that the city can discourage that is by having composting options, good recycling, and education, right? Because, and I want to give you all an example. This really made my week when this happened about, 8 months ago. I was at Ramey junior high? I always want to say middle school, junior high, yeah. Doing a program there, and I take the kids outside, and there's probably 20 of them, and these are 7th graders. And you know what 7th graders are like? They just kind of give you that look like, why are you here? What am I doing here? It's not easy to get through to them sometimes. And I said, before I started the program, I said, who can tell me where our only landfill in Northwest Arkansas is? And 2 boys raised their hands. And I said, where is it? And they both at the same time said, it's in Springdale or Tawnytown. They were the only 2 that raised their hand. And I was like, how'd you guys know that? Like, we went on a tour of the landfill at Old Middle School 2 years ago. I guess it would have been 2 years ago. And then they answered the next question about composting. There were only 2 kids in the classroom that knew it. And I was like, apparently somebody made an impact on those kids when they did that. And so that's one of the ways that we can get around a lot of this issue. If people know in the front end, and that's why y'all are here, if you know in the front end what consequences and financial consequences that are associated with these things, it's easier to prevent.
Make it mandatory for all Fayetteville school kids to take a tour of the landfill.
I wish I could.
Program.
Yeah, because seeing 100 and something acres of trash is pretty impressive. Seeing 250 tons of it on the floor in the transfer station, well, it might make you puke if you don't have a strong stomach.
But that's the best teaching tool that you can have. I like to bring the kids out to the transfer station recycling center when it's hot because it smells really bad. And then they walk into the recycling side where everything's nice and clean and they don't have that smell. You can really make that contrast to them of what it takes to recycle something, and this is what it's like when it's separated and clean, and this is what it's like when nobody cares.
So, why it works, why pay as you throw works, it's environmentally sustainable. You're not encouraging people to make more trash. You make less trash, you pay less money, just like electricity, just like water. And to me, that makes the most sense because it's transparent to people. They're like, oh, I make more, I got to pay more for it. It just doesn't make sense to me. It's economically sustainable because it pays for itself. I mean, every time have y'all seen the 18-wheelers? They say MBI, the red cab, dirty dust-covered white back trailer. If you see that truck coming out of Happy Hollow or 15th, going up Cato Springs or going up 49, there's a pretty good chance that it's full of several, tons of trash and it's going up to the landfill. I see it a lot there. But, they have to pay for that. So there's fees, and those fees are reflected in the system. And it's equitable, people, you're not subsidizing your neighbor when he or she produces more trash. Okay, so, how many of y'all have seen the transfer station over in Happy Hollow? Seen it over there? Well, actually, it's been transformed in the last several months. They're building new offices, the parking lot's new. It's going to be a nice facility. It was fairly cramped over there before. So, yeah, it was a little tight.
Still gonna stink.
Yeah, there's not really much on that. We got trash, we got chicken, we got landfill. It's just the way it is right now. So when you put your trash into the can, truck picks it up, this is where they're going to go with it usually in the city of Fayetteville. It hits the floor right there, and y'all can see the dozer here. They push it all in the back. There's the pit, it's a big hole. Pushing that hole, that big MDI truck comes through, goes in there. He's got a net, thank goodness, that's tied down over the top of it so he won't, be littering down the road. And he heads up to Arbor Acres Road off of 412 in Springdale. And how many trucks do y'all send today, Ron?
We do 12 to 15 trucks a day. They're about 22 tons a truck. We are growing in Fayetteville, obviously, so we are getting a lot more waste. We are permitted at our transfer station to take 80,000 tons of waste. We are predicting that at the end of this year, we're going to have close to 77,000 tons. So we're pushing our permit capacity. We'll probably have to ask for expansion on that. So, but that's what you get with growth in the community. And a lot of businesses, and a lot of construction debris, and a lot of private haulers from out the county use this facility. All of our residential waste, commercial waste comes in here, so it's a very, very busy place. If you've ever been there, during Monday through Friday, say around 9 to 10 or 11 or 12 o'clock, if you're not careful, you might get run over. It is. The trucks going everywhere.
All right, now to maybe one of my favorite trash stories. So after it goes there, it goes up to Echo Vista. I never thought about the name, the Green View. They do a good job up there. They've got a double liner in the bottom of the landfill. They've got engineers coming out there every day looking at their methane to oxygen ratio, which, before I step too far ahead of myself, trash goes in the ground, right, in a big hole. What happens to it there?
Decomposes.
What decomposes?
The organics in
The
it.
organics. Anything that's from a plant or an animal decomposes, right? They have to cover this every day. They're required by regulation to put a daily cover on it. So, and also, there's a bulldozer about as tall as the ceiling with steel spiked tires about as tall as me that runs over. They've got two of them, I think, out there, and they run over them to compact and to get that airspace out. Well, who's a